Shit work. Protection power after the bus.
This undercover millionaire.
The Washington Post. They have decided to not endorse Kamala Harris or Donald Trump. So why are they breaking tradition now? Unofficially, because their owner said so. Post was going to back Kamala Harris, but Jeff Bezos killed it. Amazon does a lot of business with the US government. Trump wins. He could kill that deal. Chances are that influenced Jeff Bezos' decision. When did US media start backing candidates? Dates back to the 1800s. Editors would get funding and contracts from political parties. In return, they would endorse candidates. Doesn't this compromise journalistic integrity? Does it sway voters? In the past, yes, it did, but recently that has changed. A, because trust in the media has fallen. And B, because social media is more important these days. In 2016, Hillary Clinton had 240 endorsements. Donald Trump had 6. Yet, it was Trump who won the election. And this time, Kamala Harris has 18 newspapers backing her. Trump has just 10. Yet the race is a dead heat.
Yep.
The Washington Post. They have decided to not endorse Kamala Harris or Donald Trump. So why are they breaking tradition?
I'll repeat.
This is the easiest money earning app I've ever used. So I heard about this app called Benjamin, and it's honestly been...
What is hanging, Vance? So I heard that J.D. Vance went off in this interview.
There you now.
There we go. Just want to make sure the levels here are correct. Mic was popping a little bit in the beginning of my last video. I actually turned on one of my studio lights here, and it fell on my camera, fell on my internet system, fell on my mic. Everything got all disheveled and stuff. So, yeah. Make sure everything is all right here. All right. Are you ready? I heard it got heated. You got to see this, T. And again, if you don't know, I'm not going to do that full 3-hour, Joe Rogan podcast. I'm just not. But I will eventually watch it. And maybe I will do reactions to clips, but that's just too much. And I don't think that Joe Rogan's cool with us doing reactions to stuff like that long. So, all right. Are you ready? His face right there looked like he hey, what you lying about now?
Good to see you. Thank you so much. Thank you. So, let me ask you, obviously, Trump's former Chief of Staff, General John Kelly.
All right, hold on. Where's my phone charger? Oh, fuck my ass. Oh. All right.
Always those formalities. Good to see you. Hi, thank you. Man, if I was a politician, I'd be real. They'd be like, good to see you. And I'd be like, what questions do you have for me? People be sitting back in their chair like, that's right. Tell them, Magnus. Tell them, President Magnus. That's right. You ain't here to play. You know they don't like you. What's happening? 10 toes down.
Was alarmed, he says, by what he heard when Trump said he wanted to use the National Guard or the Pentagon to go after the enemy within, Americans with whom he disagrees, including the Pelosi's, Adam Schiff.
Right.
And then he gave an interview. He said that Trump, quote, certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, that he's, quote, certainly an authoritarian, admires people who are dictators.
He just
They called him a
blah, 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 blah.
disgruntled former employee. But why shouldn't Americans out there listen to somebody who worked closely with Trump, worked with him longer than you've worked with him, retired 4-star Marine general?
It's because he was fired, correct? A lot of times people get fired, they ain't got nothing nice to say about it. It's just like a breakup. Ain't got nothing you want to ask the ex-girlfriend or boyfriend. The waters might be a little muddied in that situation.
Served his country honorably, who is conservative, who says he agrees with Trump on most policies, but is worried about this aspect of Trump.
So let me say two things in response. So first of all, a lot of what John Kelly, pretty much all of what John Kelly accuses Donald Trump of saying, there were other people in the room, Mike Pence's former chief of staff, for example, who explicitly said Donald Trump never said those things, right? So one, all my specific comments.
Not going to support Trump because
Mike Pence's former chief of staff said that Donald Trump didn't say those things, right? So that's
So
the
they were
point.
both in the room.
I actually think there's an interesting conversation here to have, Jake, which is why does John Kelly not support Donald Trump? It's about policy. It's actually not about personality.
he says he agrees with Trump on most policy.
No.
He agrees with Trump on most policy. He disagrees with Trump on how Trump views his role and his and the fascism and the authoritarianism.
I don't buy that, Jake. I don't buy that because if you actually look at John Kelly and folks like Liz Cheney, the fundamental disagreement they have with Donald Trump is even though they say that they're conservative in the sense that they want America to get involved in a ton of ridiculous military conflicts. They want America to police the world, and Donald Trump wasn't.
John Kelly lost a son in Afghanistan. Why are you saying that I've never heard John Kelly say whether he supports Iran or Afghanistan.
And I honor his son's sacrifice, and I honor his family's sacrifice. That doesn't mean he's not wrong about policy.
What specifically are you talking about?
How they use lines like, he lost his son, and why would you? Like, they really, I'm telling you, I wonder, they must have classes on how to kind of twist and curve things in certain directions.
He said, is your argument that a person who lost his son in Afghanistan can't be wrong about public policy?
See?
I'm asking you, why bring that up? Let's talk about public policy.
Because you
never criticized his
Appealing to emotion and someone that's patriotic, that's on his side. Like, oh yeah, you're disrespecting. Stop. He's not disrespecting. You can have difference of opinions. While this may have happened, this could also be true. Like,
when I was younger, I never thought I'd need Credit Karma's help. Back then, I had a high-paying job in politics, and life was good.
come on now.
All right.
I see through this.
service.
I brought it up because you're acting as if he is pro-war, and I've never heard him say whether or not he supported the war in Afghanistan or the war in Iraq. He was a general carrying out orders.
Because I know John Kelly's worldview, and I know the people who attack Donald Trump the most vociferously on foreign policy. They'll say, well, he's a dictator, when what they really mean is they won't listen. Donald Trump wouldn't listen to the leadership of the military when they wanted him to start ridiculous conflicts. That is a consistent theme. And I think that there's a big thing going on in American politics. It's a very interesting theme in American foreign policy, where a lot of former members of the Pentagon bureaucracy, a lot of old neoconservatives, they have a fundamental difference with Donald Trump on the question of peace and war. I believe Donald Trump is the candidate of peace. I think the record supports that. But the reason these guys go after him so vociferously, I don't think that it's about his personality, Jake. I think that it's about they don't like that Donald Trump said no when a lot of them wanted to start a ridiculous war.
Well, you're ascribing worldviews, I think, based on gut. I can't really tell where you're coming from on it. There's no evidence.
Based on people that I've talked to in the Trump administration,
John Bolton,
what John Kelly wanted to do, John Bolton, Liz Cheney, these people have a consistent...
John Kelly was at the Department of Homeland Security, and then he was chief of staff. He was not weighing in. I don't even know what you're talking about. But let me ask you something about John Kelly specifically, because you said the other day quote, I guarantee John Kelly talked to somebody on Kamala Harris's campaign beforehand, before he did this interview. I've spoken with people in John Kelly's circle, and I've spoken with people in the Kamala Harris campaign.
They said he didn't.
They say there's been no communication. So where did that come from?
Oh, I'm highly skeptical of that, Jake. You know the way that these attacks work. You know the way that these people are
Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. See, I'm fair.
often vetted by a
So you made it up.
where something goes out there. No, I said that the American media and the American
So you made it up.
party apparatus works a certain way. If it comes out that John Kelly never even spoke with a person in the Kamala Harris,
I'm telling you that.
No, I'm happy. You're telling me that based on secondhand conversations with John Kelly, and it's interesting. We've now spent, Jake, 3 minutes talking about John Kelly. If it is true,
If I was in politics, oh my God, I would be an absolute lethal intellectual assassin. Like, they would not be able to stop me if I jumped into politics. I would make sure I had an answer for everything that they were gonna ask me. And if they had something snarky or snide or sarcastic to say, I'm gonna give it right back. I'd be the realest politician of all times. I don't know if you could actually get realer than Senator John Kennedy, though. I don't know if you can get realer than that. But I tried.
that he never spoke with anyone in Kamala
Vance is good, though.
I'm
Vance
happy
is
to
good. I am saying that he's not. I'm just listening to this stuff, and I'm noticing he's throwing it right back, which is great, which is something I would do. I'm just like, yo, man, the way they twist your words and woo.
apologize to John Kelly for misstating how he delivered this news to the Atlantic magazine. But let's talk about who did he deliver this news to? To Jeffrey Goldberg, a guy who lied the United States into the Iraq War, which led to the deaths of millions of innocent Arabs and thousands of innocent Americans. You don't go to that guy if you don't have a particular ideological motive. I think that's what's going on. If I'm wrong, I'm happy to say that I'm wrong.
I think it's
Good.
interesting that you think that
And that's fair. I like that.
magazine writer lied the American people into war.
Well, he encouraged it. He wrote stories that were dishonest.
He wrote a story about the gassing of the Kurds in I forget if it was the Atlantic or the New Yorker, but I'm actually referring to Sean Kelly talking to the New York Times.
He wrote stories, by the way, where he took what intelligence officials in the American Pentagon bureaucracy said and wrote it as the gospel truth. And this highlights the entire point that I'm making about Trump's foreign policy, is this is a guy who wants to use American troops sparingly. He wants peace through strength. It's why his foreign policy was so successful during his first term. It's all the same people who were wrong about Iraq. They were wrong about the quagmire in Afghanistan. They were wrong about Syria. They were wrong about everything. And now they're coming after Donald Trump because he actually has a realistic and cautious foreign policy.
I'm talking about people who worked for Donald Trump in his first administration. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about not just John Kelly, but Mark Milley, who would.
I was devastated when our doctors told us our baby would never survive.
Texas bans a Dallas woman who's being forced to leave the state to get one.
Ted Cruz fought for this abortion ban, and the consequences have been devastating. Colin Allred will restore common sense to our healthcare laws.
With a Fingerhut Fedi credit account, every order is an opportunity for you to start building your credit history.
Was the Trump-appointed chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Trump's direct orders on troop redeployments in
And
Syria.
I'm talking about the guy that had your job.
A massive violation of his constitutional oath. By
I'm
the way.
talking about the guy that had your job before Donald Trump's supportive crowd wanted to hang him, Vice President Mike Pence, who said, as you know, that Trump put himself before the Constitution. I'm talking about General Mattis, also the Secretary of Defense in Trump's administration. I'm talking about Mark Esper, the Secretary of Defense, who told me that Trump does have fascistic tendencies. John Bolton, H.R. McMaster.
Single one of us. Okay, Jake, are you
Trump administration officials.
Every Trump administration official. You know, one reason why Kamala Harris doesn't have as many people criticizing her is because she doesn't fire people who fail. That's why we haven't had a real audit of the disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal, is because Kamala Harris protects failures in government. Donald Trump fires them. And I'd much rather have the president who fires people who screw up. Now, Jake, no, this is an important point. Kamala Harris.
You did not fire Mike Pence.
Kamala Harris.
He did not fire
President
Mark Milley.
Kamala Harris.
He did not fire General, John.
He fired a lot of those people, Jake, and he did because they weren't doing their job. But this is the thing, Jake. We've now spent 5 minutes talking about people in Donald Trump's staff
Who think he's not fit for office?
He fired. Who think he's not fit for office? Oh, they didn't think he was unfit for office until they had a falling out with him because he fired them. And we're not talking about the public policy. Well, we're actually talking about how Americans can't afford groceries. We're actually talking about the fact that Americans can't afford the cost of housing. We're talking about the fact that a lot of people out there in Erie, Pennsylvania, they're the ones who suffer and die when people like Mark Esper and Mark Milley don't obey the commander-in-chief.
We're talking
Trump and what he said.
Yes,
Donald Trump said.
And you'd much rather talk about what Donald Trump allegedly said than what Donald Trump did in office. What he did in office, Jake,
What he said publicly.
1.5%
the
inflation.
military to go after the enemy within, which is the American people.
No, it's not the American people.
He said that he was in the military after the American people.
It's American people. Stop.
Jake,
Enemy go after the enemy within, which is the American people.
he did not say that, Jake. He said that he was going to send the military after the American people. Show me the quote where he said that.
He said the American enemy within.
Far left lunatics. He's talking about
The
people
Pelosi's
rioting.
and Schiff.
He's talking about people rioting after the election. I think
Pelosi's
said,
rioting after the election.
he said,
Adam Schiff was rioting after the election.
You're using two separate phrases. He said about using the military that far left lunatics, people who riot in the wake of election, people who burn down American cities in the summer of 2020, yes, we should have a federal law enforcement.
This is what he said to Joe Rogan on Friday. The enemy within that he wants the military to go after.
No, this
The enemy within is a bigger problem than Kim
the
Jong-un.
second part.
We have people that are really bad people that I really think want to make this country unsuccessful. That's what that enemy within.
Did he say that he wants to use the military against those people?
You're to use the military to go after the enemy within.
Here's the game that you're playing. He said
I'm not playing a game.
No. Can I answer the question? He said that he wanted to use the military to go after far left lunatics who were rioting, and he also called them the enemy within. He separately, in a totally different context, in a totally different conversation, said that Nancy Pelosi and Adam Schiff were threats to this country.
We're the enemy within.
Never
We're the
said-
enemy within. He said they were the enemy
So
within.
every time he uses the exact same phrase, we assume that he uses.
I don't know. I don't throw around the term of enemy within to talk about using the
Well, you're a
military
journalist,
against
you're a
American
journalist, and
people.
you're asking his vice president.
What I hate is that he's using American people as if he's talking about us, like me and you. Like it's, the American people, like it's innocent people that are not doing anything wrong, that are just going to get the military sicked on them like lapdogs. You know what I'm saying? There's people out there causing chaos.
But you won't let me answer the question. I'm telling you that Donald Trump has said, and I agree with them, that we should use the U.S. military to go after people who riot, who burn down our cities.
And this was what Sean
To go after Americans. It's like they're trying to say he's turning on his own people. We have police to arrest the American people when they act the hell up. When an American person is beating people up in the street or shooting people, going on a rampage, publicly drunk.
All seniors on Medicare who haven't claimed their spending card loaded with $3,300 have only
Driving, yes, we are arresting the American people, but they're trying to twist it, yo. I cannot stand it. This is why I couldn't be in politics. I'd be talking to them just like this. I'd be one of the most popular politicians of all times. My stuff be going viral because I'd be talking just like this to them. Like, don't even try it. You're trying to say American people, like we're turning on our own people. We have always had law enforcement to police our American people that go crazy, go nuts, that are breaking the laws, whether it's blue-collar crime, white-collar crime. Those are all Americans that are being arrested or prosecuted. You're saying we're turning on our American people? Get the hell out of here. Next question.
National President John Kelly was alarmed by the idea of using the U.S. military to go after Americans. That's what he said.
Donald Trump never said Americans writ large. You keep on putting words in his mouth. And
Are they not Americans?
far left people who commit acts of violence, who riot, and
Now you're doing a very narrow definition of what he said, which is not what he said. That's not what he said. But let me ask you the bigger question.
He's trying to use a broad brush to say Americans. Yes, I would be like, yes, there are bad people in America that are Americans that must be policed.